Hi guys, and welcome to my mini presentation on my chosen research question, which is: does creating social stories through digital storytelling engage students with autism in learning more effectively than essay writing? So the reason why I chose this as a topic isn't because I'm going to do my thesis on it or anything like that, but purely because I'm working for a company that has two digital storytelling apps, and we've just finished creating a new browser version of our digital storytelling app during the summer. And basically I'm working with digital stories all of the time. So I just thought it would be an interesting kind of topic to do this mini activity on. And it's also because last week I was at an assistive technology conference in Rhode Island, and there were a number of people approaching us who were very interested in digital storytelling, especially for students with autism. And they were asking us about social stories and how we would relate digital storytelling to students with autism. So, it's something that I'm only learning a little bit about now, and that's why I thought it would be great to maybe have this topic as my topic of choice for this research question activity that we're doing now. So firstly, what is a digital story? I just wanted to briefly go through that for the sake of this presentation. A digital story is a multimedia presentation using text, images and narration. And you can also have drawings and bring in your own videos into the digital story. It's basically a video story explaining what you're learning or what you're doing. So it's a new way for a student to explain their learning. And as I was saying, many people at the conference I was at heard that digital storytelling is good for engaging students with autism. They were telling me that people with autism can become stressed when they have to do written tasks. So it would seem that an activity like digital storytelling could engage them in their learning, as they would use images, drawing and narration for this to explain concepts instead of having to write it out. And before I just mentioned social stories. So a social story can be a type of digital story, let's say. And it's a story whereby the learner tells, an account of, for example, their day at school, with times allocated to certain activities, and images included to help them make sense of the structure of their day. It kind of personalises it for them, and it also, lays out their day for them so they kind of get used to the timing of things and the structure of things. Another example of a social story is one where the learner talks about, let's say, 3 examples of good behaviour they'd like to show in the playground. Supposedly this reinforces the concepts more deeply with them, and because they're telling a story, they're expressing the content in a different way to writing it. So the context I would carry out this study in would be probably the primary school. I think this would be the best context to test it, because digital storytelling seems to work the best with younger students. And the educational technology application I would use would be 30 Hand Storyteller Web. It's our new digital storytelling app whereby the learner is encouraged to plan out their story by adding slides to create a storyboard. So as you can see here, you have all the different slides. This is just the kind of a screenshot of the interface. Slide 1, 2, 3 and 4, you can see there, that's your storyboard here. And then you bring in images from Pixabay or the internet, wherever, and you can record over each slide. Actually, what I'm using right now is the iPad app version of this. So I actually created a Google Slides presentation and I brought it in. So it's on a slide-by-slide basis that I'm recording over each component. And in the Moodle forum, I'll put an example of a digital story that I've created before. It's not a social story, but it's just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about when I'm talking about digital stories. So here are some questions that I'm kind of thinking about as I'm going through how I would actually go about doing this study. Maybe you guys could pitch in on some of these. I'll post the questions in the Moodle forum anyway, so maybe we could have a chat there about it. How would I actually go about doing this study? Would I observe the students carrying out written tasks and compare them to how they would carry out a digital story? Say I get them to write an essay or, a short written task, and then I get them to do the same thing with a digital story. But, is this unethical, as there's the risk that they might become agitated if they're asked to carry out written tasks? If it's known that having someone with autism carry out a written task agitates them, is it kind of unethical to have them do that for the sake of a study? Maybe I'd look just at digital storytelling and look for some positive outcomes, like does the student seem happy carrying out the digital storytelling task? To what level do they seem engaged? Are they able to talk about what they learned after creating the digital story? Maybe it would be better just to see, do they enjoy digital storytelling? Are the learning outcomes positive? So another question that I've been thinking about is, who would I pick and how would I go about selecting students to carry out this study? You know, if I'm doing it in a mainstream primary school, would it be unethical to pick out the 2 autistic students in, you know, I don't know, 3rd grade to carry out a study? You know, it just would seem quite, it could seem quite insensitive to do something like that. But perhaps it would be better to carry out a study like this in a school that's specifically for students with individual learning needs. And maybe you carry it out in that kind of a scenario. Just something I was thinking about. The other thing I would do is I would certainly have the teacher involved, because the teacher would know, say for example, if I were to observe them carrying out a digital story, the teacher would know the students' personalities and what they like and what they don't like and what their strengths and weaknesses are. So the teacher would have to be very much involved in the process, I think. Okay, thanks for listening. I'm looking forward to talking to all of you about this and all of the different presentations we've all done.